Welcome viewers once again to this NPTEL course on educational leadership. In the last class we are discussing about 21st century learners, 21st century educators and 21st century pedagogy. So, the primary focus of 21st century pedagogy are one is that outcome based learning and second is learner centric system. So, we have already discussed about what is outcome based learning and learner centric system is also that means how it is more focused or oriented towards making the learner more self sufficient, self reliant and how to use the open source of learning in a diverse way to get the maximum benefit. So, and the learner centric system also advocates for the promotion of collaboration, communication and problem solving behavior and many more 21st century skills. So, in continuation of this we will discuss about the next things like this is a learning pyramid. That means how the learning takes place. There are different modes of learning, as you can see from the lecture mode 5% average retention we used to gain. So, there are different modes of learning and how much do we get out of this. These are the different modes of learning. So, from the as the diagram shows, from the lecture mode we used to get 5% learning gain, from the reading mode 10% and from the audio visual mode we used to gain 20% learning. So, the average retention rate gradually increases with the more kind of experiential learning like demonstration, discussion and interactions. Then practice learning by doing the 75% learning gain or retention takes place, and the most outstanding remarkable learning gain or retention rate takes place, that is up to 90% in case of teaching, while teaching to others, teaching to the peers, teaching to the students or discussing the whole thing in a tutorial group. So, the immediate use of learning content, that is teaching others, maybe in the peer group context or in the tutorial context, whatever, the maximum learning gain takes place, that is maximum retention, that is 90% takes place in teaching others mode. Now, this is the 21st century learning model. As you can see, once in the one side, that is the dimension, there is the curriculum is there. Yes, curriculum has to be updated, very recent and up to mark of the global standard, etc. curriculum. Another thing is that, as we know, with the resources, open source of learning resources are there, and ICT used to integrate all these things. ICT used to integrate all these things, like it acts as a agent, change agent, while integrating the curriculum, resources and the skills we are supposed to develop. So, different curriculum for different programs, resources, open source of resources, then your in e-learning portal, in Google, in Wikipedia or whatever the sources are there, and the skills we are supposed to develop. Here the sources are like both the offline and online mode, online sources we can use it, like we have the different sources like whiteboard, interactive whiteboards in the desktop, laptop, tab, educational softwares are also there, LMS tools are there, audio or video conferencing mechanisms are there, cell phone, tripod, these are all both online and offline. So, resources are there which we are supposed to use it for our curriculum transaction and pedagogy. So, and curriculum details out about the course, content, modules, etc. for different kinds of programs, and the skills we are supposed to develop, 21st century skills, both the domains specific and generic skills. So, ICT used to integrate it. This is the 21st century learning model, where ICT integrates all the things, curriculum, resources and the skills to be developed. So, so far as the skills are concerned, we will be primarily focusing here on the cognitive skills. Cognitive skills, as you can see, according to Benjamin Bloom's taxonomy, Benjamin Bloom has given the different taxonomies of instructional objectives, learning objectives in terms of cognitive domain, in terms of affective domain, in terms of psychomotor domain, but here we are focusing more on the cognitive domain. So, cognitive domain as it is being organized from the lower order thinking to higher order thinking. Nowadays, we are focusing more on higher order thinking skills, how to develop higher order thinking things. So, the mental hierarchy, cognitive hierarchy is like this, from the lower order to higher order, and according to Bloom's taxonomy, you can say the revised Bloom's taxonomy, these cognitive hierarchies like this. First, whatever we go through, we have to there is the minimum level is that, lowest level is the remember, then we understand it, then we try to apply it in different spheres of life, then then next higher level is the analyze the whole thing, whatever we have learned, then we critically evaluate it, whether we have whatever we have learned is worth using, worth reading or worth writing or not, and again after evaluating the whole thing, then again we can also add on something, reconstruct, redesign the whole thing, that is the create something new. So here we can say creative thinking is the highest level of cognitive skill. Starting from the lowest level is the remember, simply memorizing, remembering the whole thing, and the highest level is that creative thinking, when we create something new design, new platform, new pattern, all kinds of things. So it's the cognitive skills, pedagogical skills. So our pedagogy should also focus on how to develop these skills across different levels of education, and integration of the ICT in the curriculum. As you know, the ICT acts as an integrator. So how to integrate ICT in the curriculum from the very beginning, like initially we are just aware of these are the different stages, we are just aware of ICT use, then we try to explore how many options, what are the other resources both offline and online are available, etc. Then how to do the infusion, then how to integrate it mechanically in our pedagogical process practices, then as a routine basis, or we integrate it like, yes, that means daily in our day to day activity, in our day to day classroom activity, day to day lecture delivery, and the interactions also we have used ICT as routine task. Then we try to expand it, so expansion and then the refinement. So in this way, these are the different stages. In this way we can integrate ICT in our curriculum. So here cognitive skills we need to develop, and here the how ICT facilitates in integrating it in the curriculum. So ICT curriculum in interaction with the resources, we can develop these cognitive processing skills. So now here we will now switch over to the action research. Primarily, as we have already discussed in social science research, we have various options, methods to conduct our research, but primarily in educational setup, we select or opt for action research. Why do we opt for action research? What benefits it gives to us, and what is actually action research, we will discuss it. So action research is any systematic inquiry conducted by the teacher, researchers, principals, counselors, or any stakeholders in the teaching learning environment. Action research can be conducted by anybody. This can be conducted by the teacher, can be conducted by the trainees, can be conducted by the principals, counselor, whoever instantly feels that, yes, no, I need to know about it, I need to get the feedback about it. Or suppose the teacher has introduced a new method or new technology or new pedagogy or new content or new module, whatever suppose he has already introduced. Now he wants to get the feedback out of it and wants to know that how much it has helped the students. He can quickly switch to the action research. So it can be used by any stakeholder in the teaching learning environment. For what? To gather the information about how their institutions operate, how they teach, and how well their students learn. So it can be related to any aspects of teaching learning environment. It can be related to classroom management, it can be related to students' attention, it can be related to how the institution functions, it can be related to cost effectiveness, it can be related to anything and everything of the teaching learning process. So action research in education, it primarily focuses on getting the immediate solution to any kind of dilemma or the query or the questions, or to get immediate feedback of any innovative ideas, implementation, or any innovative thoughts if you want to apply it and get the quick reply or feedback of it. So problems can be easily detected through action research activities, and the quality of teaching and learning can be increased in the light of that action research. Like as in the last class we are discussing about the very innovative pedagogy or innovative research methods like these things. So, if you want to get the immediate feedback whether yes, I have introduced this new concept, I have introduced this concept of flipped classroom in the last semester. Now, I want to know whether it has really worked or not, whether it has really benefited our students or not. So, for that matter I can quickly stick to the action research. So, action research can instantly give me an instant feedback about whether it has really worked out or not, and whether it has really benefited and it has really captured the students attention and motivation, and it has really engaged them in the classroom discussion, and they have gained a lot in terms of their knowledge, in terms of their interactions, performance, etc. So, action research, you can say it's a handy tool for all the researchers and the academicians and the teachers who are engaged in the teaching learning process. So, there are many benefits of action research. First thing is that it helps solve the classroom problems. If you face any classroom problem related to you can say your classroom management, student discipline, students attention, or students motivation, students engagement, we can quickly opt for the action research. Can encourage the effective changes. If you want to bring any kind of innovative change in the curriculum or in the timetable or in the classroom management or in the regular schedule of academic activities, then we can have a experiment, we can have a test or we can experiment on this action research through this action research to get the feedback, like to what extent it can be effective, it can be useful for us. Then revitalize the teachers. From time to time the teachers are engaged in action research to get the immediate feedback of their practices or pedagogy or teaching, etc. So, it revitalizes the teachers' energy, spirit, skills and competences also. It empowers the teachers to make decisions regarding the curriculum, content, pedagogy or the classroom management. So, through the action research, the teacher can immediately get the feedback regarding the curriculum, content, pedagogy or whatever classroom management issues are there. So, you can say it is a handy tool of pedagogy. So, through which we can get the instant feedback about, and we can update it, we can modify it, we can change it. Similarly, action research also identifies the effective teaching and learning method. With a quick action research feedback, we can take a decision of which one is the effective teaching mode, which is the best learning mode, and it also promotes the reflective and innovative teaching. Reflective teaching, because every now and then the teachers, they need to reflect upon their own teaching process, competences and the skills. So, it promotes reflective thinking and also it brings innovative approach, innovative improvement or changes in the teaching behavior. It promotes the ownership of effective practices. It also creates a kind of ownership, sense of ownership or feeling of ownership, that if the teacher has promoted or has brought out any positive changes in his teaching practices. So, it promotes that kind of ownership of effective practices among the teachers. It verifies which methods actually work in which context, among which type of students or learner groups. Then it widens the range of teachers' professional skills. Again, as we have already discussed, that action research is a handy tool for the teachers and the leaders, education leaders, the educators, etc. Even the students, they themselves can also experiment on it. So, it provides a range of that means competences and the professional skills for the teachers to develop, as well as provide a linkage between pedagogical method and the learning outcome. So, when we set the instructional objectives and we target to get some certain learning outcome, so it gives us the technique, it gives us the options for the different techniques and how to integrate the resources with the ICT and use, and how to link up, how to bridge that gap between the instructional objective and the learning outcome. So, it provides the linkage between the pedagogical methods and the learning outcomes of the particular academic program. So, helps the teachers apply the research findings to their own classroom. So, they can quickly apply the research findings in their own classroom, classroom management, classroom teaching, etc., enable the teachers to become the change agents. So, on the basis of that findings, the teacher can go on in experimenting with the new innovative ideas. He need not have to wait for others, because whatever findings he is getting out of that action research, he is going to apply it for his own class. So, he need not have to generalize it, establish its validity or reliability. If he is sure enough that yes, it works in my classroom, it works in case of my students, then it is enough for him to bring the change in the behavior of the students. So, it acts as a change agent also. The teacher acts as a change agent through by using the action research tool. So, being the teacher, we are supposed to, we are expected to engage ourselves in pedagogical research. So, pedagogical research also, this is the pedagogical research framework. On the one side, as you can see, this is the curriculum and assessment, what the curriculum has been designed, in which way it has been designed, and the course content and the modules, etc., etc. There, what are the instructional objectives are there, and expected learning outcomes are there, and how these expected learning outcomes are to be measured through different assessment techniques. So, curriculum and assessment is the one dimension, and it takes place in particular context. It takes place in the particular context, and as it is being transacted through different teaching learning programs, activities, and the pedagogy. So, here the teacher's pedagogy is there, how the teacher transacts it, delivers it. So, then the outcomes of the pedagogy, that means comes in, and it is related to directly, and again it gives to the feedback to the teacher education. So, on the basis of these interactions, on the basis of this transaction, again we redesign the teacher education program. Like for this kind of curriculum transaction and assessment and evaluation, what the teachers are supposed to get, or how they are supposed to be educated regarding which aspects of the pedagogy, content, curriculum, etc. So, in one dimension is the curriculum assessment, which is related to the students, learners, academic performance, etc., and on the other hand, this is the teacher education, teachers content knowledge, domain knowledge, skills, attitudes, all kinds of education and the training. So, these two dimensions, it takes place in the particular learning context, and at different levels, it may be say school level, it may be higher secondary level, at college level, whatever. This is the context. Okay. So, while transacting, the teacher performs it, like it is like the learning cycle, it is the learning cycle. While teacher performing it, doing it, again it again gives the feedback to the outcome of the pedagogy, then again it gives the feedback to teacher's thinking. So, while the teacher is doing, he is reflecting upon his own action, modifying it, it affects the outcomes of the pedagogy, then again he rethinks it. So, it is like the learning cycle, like teacher doing, teacher thinking, and it affects the outcome of the pedagogy. So, it is an ongoing learning cycle. So, in this sphere, within this circle, we can conduct different kinds of research related to our pedagogy, our teaching learning practices, our content, our evaluation process, our assessment, etc. Any kind of pedagogical research that we can do it. So, the research question is that for example, which pedagogic practices in which context and under what condition most effectively support all the students to learn at primary and secondary level in developing countries. This is a research question, such a big question, having different issues, different concepts, like which pedagogic processes, maybe that means out of 10 pedagogic practices, which practices will be the most effective, and in which context, whether in the primary school context, or school higher secondary school context, college context, rural context, urban context, in which context again, under what condition, what would be the other classroom conditions most effectively support all the students. So, these are the condition, what would be the context, what would be the condition, and out of so many practices, which pedagogical practices would be effective that supports all the students to learn at primary, secondary level in developing countries. Again another condition, developing countries. So many conditions, so many contexts are involved in it. So, out of this question there may be so many sub questions. Like for example, what pedagogical practices are being used by the teachers in the formal and informal. A first stage of analysis by narrative overview. So, this same research question can be divided into many sub questions like what pedagogical practice, both being used by the teachers both in the formal and informal classroom. That is the first level analysis. Second level, what is the evidence on the effectiveness of these pedagogical practices in practices? What are the evidence of these practices that these are effective, and what, in what condition, with what population of the learner? Further analysis and in depth review. Then comes how can the teacher education, the curriculum and the practical and the guidance materials best support the effective pedagogy. As we know, in the within the framework of within this framework of pedagogical research, curriculum assessment is one dimension and the teacher education is another dimension. Within this framework, how to know that how the teacher education and the guidance material best support the effective pedagogies, and when the teacher education or the teachers, teacher educators, they interact with the curriculum, content, assessment, evaluation, etc., so along with the material, etc., how effective pedagogy can be ensured. Ask for the alignment with the teaching practices. So, these are many sub research questions, pedagogical questions which can be raised in the conceptual framework, in the research framework. So, that is why and these many issues, we can say these many sub questions we can get, if you want to solve it, resolve it, to get the answers, we can adhere to action research to get the immediate feedback, immediate answer in a particular context. But again, action research findings are applicable to particular context, in which context it has been applied, in which context it has been tested and experimented. Hence, it cannot be generalized to other situation, other learning condition, but yes, but anybody and everybody, any teacher and any teacher, educator, principal or the student or academician can stick to, can apply, can administer, can quickly resort to action research method. So, these are then some of the factors that affecting the doctoral research. So, in academics, in teaching, in education, etc., being by part of the academic community, maybe that we are the teachers, we are the teacher educators, we are the students at different levels, etc., we are supposed to engage ourselves in one or other modes of the research. It may be as a teacher or as a practitioner, we should be involved in the action research, or as a teacher or as a research scholar, we should be involved in experimental research at any point of time in our academic career. And if we are involved or engaged in teaching, learning programs or academics or educational entrepreneurship also. So, we are expected to engage ourselves in one or other mode of educational research. We may opt for different kinds of methods, but somehow we have to be related to, involved in the research. So, now let us summarize what are the factors that affect the doctoral research. Nowadays, as the research has become very vital in academics, even in the job sector also. So, we have to just again we ask many questions regarding its quality, its validity, its credibility, its benchmarking, all kinds of things. So, these are some of the factors like massification of higher education, as we have already discussed in 21st century with the globalizations, the young people's expectations, their aspiration have increased, have been raised. So, as a result of which in our country as well as the other countries also, so many institutions of the higher education, higher learning institutes, in terms of not only in terms of the government universities, colleges and the agencies, but also the private universities, private colleges, private schools and educational institutions, research institutions have been opened, and so that is a massification of higher education. So, it has been that means it is now it is being flooded with large number of mass volume of educational institutions. So, that is in terms of number, in terms of volume, in terms of capacity, in terms of quantity we are getting it, but again the question is raised like what is the quality, whether they are at par in terms of their quality, in terms of their research approach, in terms of their infrastructure, resources, etc., etc. Then the political intervention and the funding sources. Again, when research comes, again the funding as a part, funding sources also comes in, because as research it involves a lot of time, a huge amount of time like 3 years, 4 years, and lot of exercises, lot of resources are required, etc., and we seek for different kinds of funding sources, maybe that through sponsorship from the government or industry or from other organizations. So, funding, what are the funding sources of research in a particular organizations, and often political intervention also takes place in some of the institutions, political intervention. So, these are again the crucial factors, funding resources and the political interventions. Then the need of the professions. Now, whether the research is directly related to that profession or not, whether research is related to the management profession, the teaching profession, the technical professions, whether it is required or not. So, needs for that profession, in particular whether a particular profession demands research or not. Then prioritization of the students' experience. So, when the students they go through the research experience, they go through the studentship or the career orientation, etc., how do they prioritize their experiences with regard to research. Then the employer demands, like whether there is a proper matching between what the employer expects in a particular profession, and whether the students or the freshers or the young generations that being able to deliver it. So, there is a whether there is a proper link, proper matching between what the employer demands and what the students or the future employees or prospective employees they are acquiring or they are learning or they are going to deliver it. So, here the research questions can be like, how do we ensure that doctoral graduates are equally well prepared for the research career, both in academics and R&D. So, in teaching profession, in academics we say that it is directly related to the teaching practices, whereas in other profession is related to the R&D sector, research and development center, development sector. So, how do we ensure that yes, at a particular moment lot of students are engaged in different kinds of research, different types of research in different sectors, in different institutions, etc. As we have already discussed, that what is the quality of that research, whether it is related to the requirement of the society or not, or to what extent it empowers the doctoral graduates, or it enables them to acquire the required skills, knowledge, attitude and aptitude. So, how to ensure that these doctoral students graduates are equally well prepared for a research career, both in academics as well as in R&D, and for a myriad of employment roles with small and large organizations. Nowadays, we are focusing more on the business environment, economic development. So, we are also promoting the small scale industries, medium scale industries, and to any kind of profession, it must have its own research setup, like be it marketing, be it manufacturing, be it service sector, whatever. So, it would be sustainable, it would be strengthened if it is allied with research potential, because in marketing also we need to do the market research, in manufacturing also we need to do research. So, how these research programs equips enables the doctoral students to further pursue a career in research, either in academics or in any of the R&D sector. So, therefore, doctoral education primarily advocates for to think globally and act locally. So, whenever you are selecting a topic, research topic, you do a thorough research review, literature review of what is going on, what is the global standard, what are the emerging issues, what is the topic that is in high demand globally or in global context. So, you think globally, you start thinking globally, what are the requirements of the world today. But when it comes to apply it in a particular sector, then you narrow down it to the local benefits, local implications. Like even if we have started thinking globally, but when it comes to apply it for the immediate purpose, for the social benefit, or for resolving the issues in our society, in our factories, or in our schools, or in our service sector, etc., then we have to act locally. So, the doctoral education primarily advocates for think globally, start thinking globally, what is the global scenario and what are the emerging issues in the global context, in the international context. But when it comes to apply these things, its benefits, then you think of the particular setup, locality or society or community to apply it locally. So, here we stop on this topic, and in the next class we will start another aspect of educational research, that is the critical pedagogy, and how it is related to research. Now, for the time being we will stop here. Thank you.